According to the CDC's own database, 96 people were killed by dogs in the United States in 2023 alone. That's nearly 2 people every week, and the number has been climbing fast. Between 2018 and 2023, total dog bite fatalities increased by 174%, but almost nobody is reporting on why. I'm going to walk you through the breed-specific data, going all the way back to 1979. By the end, you'll understand why this data is both powerful and genuinely complicated. The agency that tracked breed-specific fatalities published its last breed-specific analysis in the year 2000. What independent researchers found when they picked it back up 5 years later has not stopped being controversial since. From 1979 to 1998, researchers linked to the CDC compiled the most comprehensive breed-specific fatality record we've ever had. Over that 20-year period, they identified 238 dog bite-related human deaths in the United States. Their findings were published in September 2000 in the Journal of the American Veterinary Medical Association. After that publication, no government agency produced another breed-specific breakdown of fatal attacks. That gap in breed-specific federal tracking lasted until 2005. Think about what that means. A gap in the most specific part of the record, right when the numbers were starting to rise. And what replaced it was not a government program. It was a nonprofit organization with its own position on the issue. Starting in 2005, dogsbite.org began rebuilding the breed-specific record using FOIA requests, coroner reports, and police records. Their method: collecting thousands of news reports combined with FOIA requests to police and coroner's offices. In 2023 alone, over 980 dog bite-related fatality news reports were collected and cross-referenced. Before we look at what they found, there's something important you need to know about dogsbite.org. They are a non-profit, and they support laws restricting certain breeds of dogs. That doesn't make their data wrong, but it's context you deserve to have before we go any further. Here is what dogsbite.org's data shows for the 15-year period from 2005 through 2019. Over those 15 years, canines killed 523 Americans. Pit bull-type dogs were involved in 346 of those deaths. That's 66%. The next closest breed, Rottweilers, with 52 deaths over the same period. That 66% held across years, spanning different administrations, different reporting teams, different news cycles. In 2011, it was 74%. In 2013, it was 78%. In 2015, 78% again. And in 2019, for the first time on record, pit bulls killed victims in every adult age group. Now here's where the story gets more complicated and more important. Starting in 2019, total dog bite fatalities surged dramatically, according to CDC's own federal database. In 2020, 62 deaths. In 2021, 81. In 2022, 98, a new record at that point. But here's the critical detail. Dogsbite.org's count and CDC Wonder's count began to diverge significantly after 2019. In 2021, dogsbite.org recorded 53 deaths, CDC Wonder recorded 81, in 2022, 56 versus 98. Dogsbite.org acknowledges this gap and attributes it primarily to COVID-era reductions in media coverage. They've been sending FOIA requests to close the difference. This is a real methodological limitation, and it's part of the record. So, within dogsbite.org's 2023 dataset of 63 verified deaths, pit bulls were involved in 65%. CDC Wonder's 96 death total does not come with a breed breakdown. Those 33 additional deaths are unaccounted for by breed. Over the full decade from 2010 through 2023, at least 593 fatal attacks were documented. Pit bulls were involved in approximately 406 of those, about 68%. Rottweilers, 26 deaths, 4%. And provisional CDC data for 2024 suggests the number may have set a new record, 127 deaths. That would be a 165% increase from 2019's total of 48 deaths, if confirmed. Whatever is driving this surge, researchers are still working to understand it. This trend exists completely independently of the breed debate, and arguably deserves more attention than it's getting. But I want to be honest with you about what that number does and does not tell us. And that's where the story gets genuinely hard. In December 2013, the same journal published what remains the most comprehensive investigation of dog bite fatalities ever conducted. The lead author was Patronek from Tufts University. The co-authors included Dr. Jeffrey Sachs, the lead author of the original 2000 CDC study. They examined 256 fatal attacks from 2000 through 2009, using homicide detective reports, animal control records, and investigator interviews. Here's what they found. 4 or more co-occurring preventable factors were present in over 80% of the fatal attacks. Those factors included no able-bodied person to intervene, the dog kept isolated rather than as a family pet, the dog being unneutered, and owner mismanagement. And on breed, the researchers reported they could only reliably determine the breed in 45 of those 256 cases, 17.6%. Not because the researchers weren't careful, but because media reports and animal control records often disagreed with each other. The conclusion: most fatal attacks were characterized by coincident preventable factors, and breed was not one of the factors they could reliably identify. This was co-authored by the same federal epidemiologist who wrote the 2000 CDC report. So here is the tension, a real tension, not a manufactured one. Dogsbite.org's data consistently shows pit bull-type dogs involved in a majority of documented fatal attacks. The 2013 JAVMA study, using more rigorous primary source methodology, found breed couldn't be reliably established in most cases. Both of these things can be true at the same time. The pattern in the data can be consistent and real, and our ability to interpret what it means can still be genuinely uncertain. The CDC itself, in the 2000 study's conclusions, wrote that fatal attacks should not be the primary factor driving public policy on dangerous dogs, and that alternatives to breed-specific legislation exist and hold promise. Those are the study author's own words. Have you thought about which side of this you find more convincing? Keep that in your head, because what I want to show you next is why reasonable people end up in different places, and why the data alone doesn't settle the question. Here is what the verified record actually shows. The federal government's breed-specific record ended with a study published in 2000. Since then, the only consistent source of that breakdown has been a nonprofit with a documented position on breed policy. Their data closely matched federal death totals for 14 years and has diverged significantly since 2019. The most comprehensive peer-reviewed study ever published found breed identification was unreliable in over 80% of cases. And total dog bite fatalities have surged 174% between 2018 and 2023, a trend independent of the breed debate. The data is documented, the methodology debates are real, and the question of what policy conclusions follow from all of this is one that researchers, lawmakers, and communities are still actively working through. If you want to go deeper on the policy side, specifically the breed-specific legislation debate, that video is right here.